Well, I've been a bishop for 3.5 years, so I just really switched from one floor to another. There are less meetings in my position now, but there's more events. So I'm going out to parishes and celebrating various masses and installations of different ministries for people. So it's been pretty good. The adjustment is everybody else getting used to it, a different style of leadership, but it's going pretty well. They're responding very well. As I said, I'm going around the various parishes and they're mentioning all three of those points. So they all are promising prayers for me, which I definitely need, and I can feel those prayers and I appreciate those prayers. And then the patients, I imagine they're being patient. They really have no choice because I am learning new aspects of the job that are a little bit different. And as I said, my leadership style is a little different, so they have to be patient as we learn together. And the vocation push is something all the parishes, I believe, are taking seriously, forming vocation councils, and we'll be doing a lot with that in the next several months. So we'll see the fruit of that in a very short time. But the folks have been responding very well, and it helps me and gives me a lot of comfort. Well, vocation is responding to the voice of the Lord. So that's the first thing. And everybody has a call that God is giving them. So to be open to hearing that and then to do it to the best of your ability. So whether it's a vocation to the priesthood or religious life, which we certainly need for people to serve the church, or if it's people recognizing the importance of a married vocation or a single vocation, those two are very demanding because our modern society is very secular and discounts very often the sanctity of the sacrament of marriage and how special that relationship is between husband and wife and how that makes God's presence known in a very unique and special way. So to emphasize those vocations is very important. Well, like any good accountant, it all depends on how you count. Right now, yes. This past year, we didn't have anyone retire, so even only having 2 priests ordained was a blessing. We only had 1 retired priest die, which also was a blessing. So we're stable right at this moment. But should priest age out, or should the priest die, especially if it's an active priest in ministry who dies, it is difficult to fill those spots. So 5 next year will be certainly a blessing, and there are 6 the year after that, so that too will be a very prosperous year. We have 33 men in the seminary total right now, and they're all fine men. 11 are at St. Paul's Seminary in various stages of discipleship, and the rest of them are at either St. Vincent Seminary, Latrobe, St. Mary's in Baltimore, or Theological College in Washington, D.C. And they work in the parishes in the summer, and they are deacons in the parishes when they're not in school. So they're getting a lot of training in the parish so that they're able to embrace that ministry. But right now, we're balanced, but it wouldn't take too much to throw that off. My Episcopal motto is to serve in faith and charity. And so that's the question I'm bringing to the parishes. How does your parish practice the spiritual and corporal works of mercy? And whatever you're doing, how can we make it stronger? And if you're not doing anything or any of the works, how can we establish that perhaps in your parish or in your parish working with neighboring parishes? Every parish doesn't have to do every single thing. They can work together. But we need to address the needs of the poor and the less fortunate, and we need to make sure that we're being respectful of all human life, no matter where, who, or what they need. So it's a lot of work, but I'd like to be able to coordinate the whole diocese so that we can make sure that we're addressing everybody's needs. Well, what I always tell folks is the most important thing that we can do as a Christian people is to pray. Our prayer life helps us to establish a relationship with the Lord. It helps us to understand what He wants us to do and also how to do that. And, a lot of people just think of prayer being, the formal prayers that we learned when we were younger, the Our Fathers, the Hail Marys, the Glory Bees, which are all very important, especially when you put them together to pray the Rosary or other devotions. But the first step really in establishing a good prayer life would be similar to when you establish a friendship. When you have a new friend, you get to learn what they like, what they dislike, what you have in common, and then you enjoy spending time and company with that person. And that's the same with the Lord. When we pray, we understand what he wants us to do. So we understand what he likes and what we're doing and our behavior and our attitude. And we also come to understand what is not acceptable and how he wants us to change and to grow in his love. And then we're able to accomplish whatever it is that he's asking us to do by being faithful to the ministry. So for any parishioner, it's the prayer life that's essential, and everything else will sprout from that.